It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The Sports Hit List presents Smoking Mirrors with Declan Krogman and the Polius Brothers, Greg and Stefan, breaking down the biggest news in sports, giving you the stories behind the story. Here for all the smoke, all the time, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Good afternoon and welcome to Smoke and Mirrors on a Friday, presented by the Sports Hit List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stefan Polius, alongside my fellow hosts, Declan Krogman and Greg Polius. How you guys doing today?
I mean, the sun is shining. It's not too cold, so I'm going to take that as a positive. Got some spring colors on.
Yes, sir. I got my Friday outfit. You already know.
You already know. You and Marty.
Marty, I mean, he's always ready. I gave him a shot of water before we have the show, so he's ready. He's hyped. How you doing, Deck?
Not too bad, man. Hanging in there. You know, obviously we got a new format. We got James Harden running the point today. I'm liking it. It's fun. You know, let's get into it.
Yes, sir. So, with that being said, like Deck said, let's get into it. So at the top of it, we're going to start with what everyone's kind of talking about, and it's Deshaun Watson. All right, you have the scandal there. Deshaun, for those of you that don't know, there's currently three lawsuits that we know about that are out there. And they stem from sexual assault that these three women are claiming, these massage therapists are claiming that he, during the session, had either touched them inappropriate, committed some kind of form of misconduct. The three that, like I said, there's three that we know about. One happened in March of 2020. There was another one in August, and then one that took place in December. The lawyer on the case, Tony Buzbee, he's a well-known lawyer in the Houston area, and he's been very active on social media, putting out a lot of just a lot of statements. Apparently, there's actually 4 more women that are ready to come forward with lawsuits, and in total there's 9. So it's a huge scandal, something that is, for most of us sports fans, coming out of left field, because most of what we were talking about Deshaun Watson was where he's going to get traded to. So now we have a total of 9 women who are claiming that he has inappropriately touched them or committed some kind of form of misconduct in this week. So Greg, I'm going to kick it to you. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
So I'm going to give initial thoughts, and I want you to come back to me to give a more elaborate breakdown. But I want to tread carefully here. Tony Buzbee is the issue for me, not necessarily the women, because you don't want to discredit women when these type of charges or these claims are made. You want to make sure that, you know, everything is being followed to make sure that if Deshaun Watson is guilty of these allegations, then he suffers the consequences.
Yes.
But the issue I have is Tony Buzbee and how he's gone about this. You could kick it to Deck before I get back into a little more.
Yeah, Deck, what do you got? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Greg said, to echo, situation like this, you got to tread carefully. You know, it's a tough thing, especially, you know, it's such a sensitive topic and such a sensitive, not necessarily a sensitive climate, but a very challenging climate when women are coming out, and rightfully so. Listen, I think either way this goes, if it's true, it's horrible. And if it's not true, it's horrible also. Obviously, you hope it's not true, but at this point, we don't know enough. I don't know enough to go making any statements. I'm not the kind of guy to, you know, jump on such a sensitive topic and say, oh, he did it or he didn't do it. Obviously, Tony Buzbee's had a lot to say, as Steph said, and the NFL just launched an investigation, and we'll let them do their thing, and that's that for now. That's as far as I can go with it.
So I agree with that. Always have to tread carefully. I think anytime you have allegations like this, we should be believing women. It doesn't have to be a power numbers thing, but definitely when there's volume like this, you want to consider it just to get a little bit more information about the what we know about the cases. So the first lawsuit, that's the March, which took place in March of 2020. The massage therapist said that Watson touched her with his penis while receiving a massage, and she felt uncomfortable. They continued a little bit afterwards, but then he ended up leaving. According to Tony Busby, there's text, there's proof, because apparently Watson apologized afterwards. So he sent her a text apologizing not too long after. So there are receipts apparently with that. The second lawsuit, again with another massage therapist, saying that he both tried to touch her, but also exposed himself to her. This was in a hotel room in Houston. So apparently Deshaun flew her out in August of 2020 to a hotel and said he both touched her and exposed himself to her. And the third case, the third lawsuit, this one happening in December of 2020, the massage therapist is claiming that Deshaun exposed himself again and asked for her to perform oral sex on him. So these aren't light claims by any means.
No, not at all.
Led to the interpretation of like, oh, well, maybe, he was asking for a particular type of massage. What I will say, though, is that Tony Busby on his Instagram did release a screenshot of the text message between Deshaun and I forget which one of these women massage therapists, but it's one of them, one of the three, because there are four more. But he said he's going to release more today. I didn't see any before we hopped on here, but that one text, that text chain was Deshaun and this woman going back and forth, her saying she's new to the Houston area, and then Deshaun asking what type of massages. She gives him the type, and then he says he likes Swedish massages. And she's like, I do Swedish massages. And she puts a smiley face at the end of the message, very playful. But all Deshaun says is that, are you comfortable focusing on glutes? And that's the end of the screenshot, which to me doesn't give you anything really when you think about it, because as an athlete, you know what you want to be targeted when you're getting a massage. So if him asking and not even saying, hey, do my glutes, it was like, are you comfortable? Which to me is very professional. So the screenshot doesn't give you much of anything. Hopefully with, the other screenshots that Tony Busby wants to release, there'll be more there that we can tell. But if that's going to be the nature of these screenshots, it's not building the case for Deshaun coming across as this creep that's forcing women onto him, that Tony Busby is making it out to be. But again, 9 women in total. And the timing of it, obviously, I think with everything is timing. Deshaun Watson's pretty much like untouchable goods at this point. As a athlete that's a disgruntled quarterback at this point, where would Houston even move him? Who would want to touch this with a 10-foot pole? You don't want to. So he's going to be staying put until it's figured out, whichever way it goes. Again, tough to deal with this. But Greg, I'll kick it back. I know you wanted to finish up a few statements.
Yeah. And what you just said there is really important to me in terms of timing. And this is where I question Tony Busby. And not Tony Busby, the lawyer, but Tony Busby, the character. And the type of circles that he rolls in. So if you don't know, I believe it was 2016, he was cited for he was arrested. It's 2016. He was arrested for a DWI, but he got out of it. He was arrested on March 31st, but he got the case dismissed later that year for completing something called pretrial intervention. And it's a type of informal probation that if successfully completed, it means the case will be tossed. Now, why that is kind of out of the ordinary is because the judge and the prosecution in this case bypassed a bunch of rules for him to get this. Then we come to find out in 2016, this is also the same guy that held fundraisers that raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for politicians. On both sides of the aisle. So it tells you that he's connected. And we couple that with Bob McNair, the Texans owner, who is the same person that said he regretted apologizing for the inmates running the prison comment.
Yep.
You couple all that together, and even though Bob McNair died in 2018, right? His son is still running the organization, and it's not a far cry to say his son kind of embodies what his father believed.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, that old adage.
And this is and Bob McNair is another guy who donated millions of dollars to political campaigns. And when you're in those type of circles and you're donating that type of money, you can get certain strings pulled. Yeah, I'm putting my conspiracy hat on a little bit here, but this goes in line with the timing of the matter and the fact that this is coming from an organization that talks about black men and black athletes as inmates, and then feels as if they should know their place. And this, to me, is Deshaun Watson not knowing his place by refusing to play for an organization that he thinks hasn't done right by him. It's kind of like, know your place. We will pay you what we pay you. You will do what we say, or if not, you will suffer the consequences. And if this is true, again, if all of this is true, he deserves to suffer the consequences. But if it's not, I don't think what I'm saying is that far off.
I mean, it's the wait and see game at this point.
Yeah.
I want to come out here and say, the Texans, their ownership is horrible. They're a poorly run franchise from its core, ethically speaking, for starters at all. But I think you did a good job of handicapping it. If everything is true, if everything, the unfortunate and just horrible things that are being described comes to fruition, you handicapped it with, okay, Deshaun Watson will get his punishment. But at this point, I find it so hard making a snap judgment when not only do we not have the information, this hasn't even gone to, if this goes to trial or,
Yes.
I mean, who really knows what's going to happen?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's one of the most important things I forgot. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And back to Busby. I didn't mean to cut you off, Deck, but I think this is really important. He asked for a settlement before a lawsuit was even filed, and there's no criminal charges being filed. It's all civil.
Civil cases, yes, that is true. I was looking at that as well, and I believe that came from Watson, his statement that there was a settlement that was sent to him, but I don't know if Busby has
6 figures. I want to say it was something like
6
that.
figures, but I don't know if Busby has come out and agreed that yes, that's what I sent over. So it has come from Watson's camp. I don't know if it's been verified by Busby. That was the information I was looking for because I did see that. But I think either way, right? Like, let's say, Greg, and to your point, that the timing of it is suspicious. If it was the case that maybe the Texans tried to cover it up or helped Watson because that's their guy, and now they're like, well, you know what? If you want to be a disgruntled quarterback when we've done more than enough for you, well, we'll leak this. That could be the case. Or it could just be like you're saying that, it seems to be a little fishy and that Watson might be the innocent party here, which we don't know. I think that the whole point is that this is like a more robust conversation when you add that element to it of the timing of it, the organization, and how they've really shown themselves in the last couple of years in the forefront, right, in public view. So it's definitely a one of those touchy subjects. I think there's going to be more that, more information that has to be out there for us to make any judgments. But as it is now, there are quite a few allegations. And Deshaun Watson is like, most people do in this situation. He's saying he's innocent. He didn't accept that money, like Greg said, because he feels he's innocent and he wants to take it to court if it has to and prove his innocence.
Yeah, he said he's looking forward to clearing his name.
Yeah.
Shout out to Manny, big supporter of the show and the Sports Hitlers brand. He's in the comments.
Manny.
He asked, is it true that one of the alleged victims is a friend of the owner of the Texans? I'm not sure. I haven't read anything of the sort yet, so I wouldn't say that. But I do think there's going to be a lot more to this story in the coming weeks, especially leading up to the draft.
There is one thing that we do know. And listen, this is not – and now I just want to completely come out and say this is not me saying one way or another, but the information as it stands is that Tony Busby, I think, he was confirmed he was either a former or a current neighbor of the McNairs. That's what's been floating around. So, listen, like I said, it's a sensitive subject. I hope it's not true. We have to wait and see. There's no reason to make any snap judgments or say he's innocent or say he's guilty. We'll see what happens, but it's sensitive. And obviously, like you guys said, the timing is tough. But at this point, we just got to wait and see because he's being accused of horrible things. And we hope that it's not true, naturally.
Yeah. Well, moving on to a lighter subject, still in football, Kenny Golladay, you Giants fans, Deck, I'm looking at you. All right. He's been attached to the Giants. I mean, not just the Giants, the Ravens, the Jets. Obviously, after the Jets went ahead and signed Corey Davis, looking a lot less likely. The Bears were another team. The Bengals actually offered him a 1-year prove-it deal that apparently he declined. So that was out there. And then also with the Bears, you had, once he went in, I guess they had a preliminary kind of discussions. Not too long afterwards, Robinson signs his franchise tag. So that's no longer,
The franchise tag was first. It was a week before.
No, but what I'm saying is that offer, but he signed it. He signed it.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, after Golladay came in, he was like, all right.
Now he can't
put some pressure on the neck. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now he's attached to the Giants. And I do find it interesting because here's a guy that, he led the league 2 years ago in touchdowns at 11. It was 11 touchdowns?
It was 11 in 2019.
Yeah.
Quick break.
Yeah, and then
not to cut you off, Juju Smith-Schuster, and this is Manny in the comments, so shout out to Manny as always, re-signs with the Steelers. But go ahead.
Nice. Another piece off the board.
Right during the show, just throws it right out.
But, you had 2 1,000-yard seasons. He's clearly shown us that he can perform, yet he hasn't been snatched up the way you'd expect someone with those numbers to be. And even the Giants kind of a little reluctant, I think, in this process. I mean, doing the due diligence maybe, but Deck, I'll give it to you. What do you think about this situation?
Yeah, and that's funny because Juju just tweeted something out 59 seconds ago that he's back home. Listen, first of all, and I think you kind of hit on a bunch of stuff, where he potentially his landing spots would be. The Giants are the favorite. The rumors that he wants to go there. Big Apple, that makes all the sense in the world why he would want to go there.
Yes, sir.
On a team that has weapons. We know Jones is not perfect. He's going to need to make a big stop. He's far from perfect. But the idea that he's going to Cincinnati, I think the interest was pretty one-sided there. And if you're gonna try to get a guy to come over, and you're going to throw a 1-year deal in his face, with a receiving corps that is talented, as we've come to realize, it's stupid to me. I think that Gettleman, if he lets Kenny Golladay out the door, he should go with him. That's essentially what it's come down to at this point. I mean, this guy will come in. He'll be the best receiver in New York. He'll get I don't want to say majority of the targets, but he'll be the clear number one. Last year when Matt Stafford hurt and just not being a great quarterback last season on that whole line system with Matt Patricia, that's why we saw the downfall. But yeah, I mean, the Giants, it is so crucial that they need to get him. And I wish they did it before the show because that would have been a nice little throw in.
I think Kenny Galladay's overinflating his market value. He's asking for 18.5.
Tyreek Hill, I think.
Yeah, he should get 16, 17. Is
Tyreek Hill and Odell Beckham make 18. I wouldn't pay Kenny Golladay more than those two guys.
I would
think he's cut. But like you said, he's more in the 16 range, around like the Mike Evans makes 16.5.
And Mike Evans is better than Odell, so that just proves that contracts in this league.
I was going to say, I think that as far as 16, he can go a little bit higher than that because production is what matters, right? Like the guy is a huge target in the end zone, something that it's not the same as Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a speedster, like. Yes, he can separate in the end zone, in the red zone because of his speed, but Golladay is just a huge target for any quarterback. And he has the route running ability. He doesn't get the separation, but his size helps him tremendously.
He gets great off the line.
But what I'm talking about is those guys were paid for what they did. Galladay's trying to get paid for what he can do in the future. Like
he's done some too as well.
He's done some.
Hold on.
He's not done what Tyreek Hill or Odell have done. He hasn't.
Well, I mean, if we want to break it down quickly, in 2019 he led the league in touchdowns. So this idea that he's unproven, like the Jets signed Corey Davis.
I didn't say he's unproven. I never said he's unproven. I said he has not performed at the level of a Tyreek Hill or Odell Beckham at their best.
Kind of money.
Yes, that's all I'm saying. That doesn't mean he's not good.
No one's saying. Yeah, no one's saying he's as good as Tyreek Hill. If you're going by the money aspect, then I get that. But he's better than Odell at this point, honestly.
But it was to Steph's point. Why do we think he's not signed yet? And I think this is what plays, because he's asking for something. And if I'm a GM, I'm like, let me look at the market and see what's going on here. Where does he stack up based on these numbers? And this doesn't make sense to me. And especially with the lower cap, I'm not gonna give him, especially after coming off a significant injury, I'm not going to give him that money.
I hear that. Yeah. One thing I will say is that Kyle O'Brien, senior personal executive, he was with the Lions for the 5 past years. He's with the Giants now. He has all that information about Kenny Golladay. I just feel like, him having that insight and them still kind of being a little iffy on it, there might be something there. But we're about to go to break, everyone. Stay locked in, please. When we come back, we'll be discussing the bad news Bears. And by the Bears, I mean Chicago. Stay locked in. This is Smoke and Mirrors.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back, everyone. You're locked in to Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Hit List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside my fellow hosts, Declan Krogman and Greg Polius. Hope you enjoyed those commercials. Honestly, there's one thing I did want to say about that, because it reminds me of being in the movie theaters, like back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where if you went early enough, you like saw local commercials just like playing before there was like trailers. Declan, you might be too young for that. I'm not trying to like hit you with any kind of age.
Yeah, what's the movie theater?
But it's great. I hope you guys you enjoyed it. So let's get right back into our topics. Yeah, hey man, there might be some stuff there. You need a car seat. Did you hear that one? You need a car seat. When do you switch from a booster to a car seat? Do you know
you're right, bro. You're right.
Exactly.
You're right. I'm still in a car seat. You want to do some karate?
What'd you say,
bro? You want to do some karate, bro?
I'm down. Yo, Tiger Shulman. I almost got my yellow belt. Is that the one from the white belt, right? It's the next one up?
Yeah.
Only belt I wear is on the diamond.
All right, Flex. But yes, so moving along in our segments here. Like I said before break, talking about the bad news Bears, that being Chicago, and what's going on over there. It's been a lot. To say the least. And Greg, I mean, I'll speak it to you. I know. So for you guys that don't know, if you're not in the group chats with Greg, he's very vocal about a lot of things. And he has his opinions. And I'm not even going to take this from you, Greg. All you. How do you feel about what Chicago's doing right now with their offseason?
Initially, when they signed Andy Dalton for $10 million, I thought it was to be a backup. So I was very curious as to that move. Because if you watched football last year and you watched Andy Dalton, and I'm not talking about like the numbers and the positive TD to INT ratio. I'm just talking about really watch Andy Dalton with the weapons he had at his disposal. He was not good. So like it made me question like why does GM still has a job? But then they didn't exercise the 5th-year option for Trubisky, which puzzled me even more because I thought he was going to be the starter because he did finish the year well. It wasn't like he was poor.
They did go to the playoffs still.
Yeah. He finished the year well. So my question is, Nagy and the front office, what did they see in Andy Dalton that they didn't see in Mitch Trubisky that made them go this route? And then on top of that, they have a horrid cap situation, one of the worst cap situations in the league.
They do.
So now you're forced to cut your all-pro defensive back in lieu of, I guess, of keeping Aaron Hicks on the line and keeping that pressure, to couple with Khalil Mack.
Akeem Hicks?
Akeem Hicks.
Akeem Hicks.
So I just think they're an absolute mess. And what you're telling me is now that I don't know what the Lions are going to do. I don't think they're going to be very good. I see the Bears taking a downgrade, and the Vikings haven't really improved much, in my opinion. So you're looking at Aaron Rodgers facing the possibility of getting 6 wins off rip next season. You know?
Yeah, they're definitely easier games. One thing I will say is that Akeem Hicks, the Bears are giving him permission to seek a trade. So it's not even like they have him locked in. He's
That's
not
even
happy.
crazier.
He's at 10.5, I think, hit against the cap this year. He's in his final year. He's looking for big money. So they're looking to let him walk and get some value back trade-wise. So another hit on the defense after having to release Kyle Fuller, someone who has been a premier cornerback and a staple in the defense. Deck, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of like Greg, I got a lot to say with the state of the Bears. Like, they're cutting Kyle Fuller. Aaron Robinson's like somehow believing. I don't know why he would possibly believe. I guess maybe they were trying to sell. Like, did the Bears really play not Aaron Robinson, Allen Robinson, by making it seem like they had a shot with Galladay to get him to, sign this franchise tag so that he wouldn't hold out? Maybe. But as far as the quarterback situation goes, I don't hate the move, but I'm with you, Greg. I'm not a Trubisky guy at all. In fact, guys who believe in Trubisky at this point, it's almost like an addiction. It's like they're Trubiscaholics. They got to go
like
to Trubiscaholics Anonymous, but I don't know why he's backing up Josh Allen either. That doesn't make any sense. But even still with Dalton, like I'm not going to go after him too much. The line was folding. That team was very injured. They had Zeke. They didn't have Zeke. Zeke wasn't Zeke last year. He still completed 65% of his passes, 14-8 touchdown interception ratio, Greg, like you mentioned. So I get it in that regard. I think he is an upgrade from Trubisky. I mean, they could have just kept Trubisky. That said, I'll give him the upgrade. However, they committed him to be the starter, but they also, like Andy Dalton said, he's totally cool if they draft. Not that anyone cares. Not to not say that anybody doesn't care what Andy Dalton says. But he obviously doesn't have the final say. I wouldn't rule out the prospect of them drafting a quarterback. But I'm with you. You're kind of puzzling what they're doing in Chicago.
Kind of is an understatement.
Yeah, one thing I will.
Bad news Bears, man. That's them today.
The one thing I will add is that it's not like Chicago didn't try at all to improve the quarterback situation. They did try to go for Russ. Apparently, they offered Seattle 3 first-round picks, a third round, and 2 starters, which they declined. So it wasn't like they didn't try. Once that they were told no, they kind of just went on to option B instead of continuing to go after Russ, which, at that point, maybe you continue to try and see what package Seattle would go for instead of choosing Andy Dalton. But what I will say, to Declan's point, is it's not like Andy Dalton is like significantly worse than Trubisky. It's not like, they were, there's not this huge drop off in talent. I think that, yes, he was bad last year. There's some issues that the Cowboys did have, but Andy Dalton, Red Rifle, might do something. I mean, you hope you're banking on that. And there's also the prospect that, again, like Dex said, they might go for a quarterback in the draft, which Andy Dalton's perfect for that. You bridge the gap for this young guy to come in and take over, which Chicago clearly needs. With their defense is hurting, to me, they're not really competing if they're losing all these. Their defense was a stalwart, and now you're losing pivotal pieces to your defense. When your offense was barely getting it done, it's hard to see that next year is the plan you have. You might be looking more long-term now.
Yeah, but honestly, though, what is this bridge to? This could be a bridge to nowhere with the Bears. Ryan Pace should get blown away. His job, not executed, but his job, he should be fired completely. This is the same guy who obviously, I don't even have to say it, he picked Trubisky over Mahomes and Watson. But Dalton was a backup for a reason going into last year. So he performed, I guess, kind of what we would think a 27th to 30th ranked quarterback would do.
Not getting first team reps either. So, it's something to go into camp. It's something to go into camp, knowing that you're the starter, taking the first team reps. I think you could see a better version of Dalton this time around, and that's what the Bears are hoping on. That's what they're banking on.
Yeah, I think my last point here is about that trade, right? That you mentioned, Steph.
Yeah.
If you're Seattle, right, and one of those first-round picks is their 20th pick this year, right? Majority of the top higher-end quarterbacks are going to be gone. So if you're replacing that pick with Mitch Trubisky with instead of Russ, why would I take that deal? That deal does nothing for me.
Yeah,
it's a significant downgrade.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
not
could
even-
see why Seattle declined.
Yeah.
It's not even like you're getting Sam Darnold or something back in that ridiculous three-way trade that Dan Orlovsky.
that was wild.
The
I
guy
thought
who
that-
walked out the back of the end zone, by the way. Oh,
That's-
I just quickly, I saw Ray in the comments, Ray Nall Lockhart Jr., for those of you who don't know, football contributor to the Sports Tales. We love him. He put the eyes emoji. He's always sharing our stuff. Talk about a loyal listener, honestly. So shout out to Ray. We love Ray. But I guess I made a comment about him wanting Andy Dalton to be the starter for the Cowboys. That is not true. I'm going to have to listen. Obviously, it's not. I'm happy to say that. That being said, he has copped out to the I'm not the GM of the Cowboys. I don't know who they should replace, but didn't want to re-sign Dak. So I made the joking assumption that he was happy with the red rifle in Jerry's world, which he was very upset about. So I just want to set the record straight. No, Ray.
Good job, Declan.
I appreciate you eating that humble pie, Deck. I mean, that's huge. You know, Ray, I'm sure Ray appreciates that in the comments. It happens. You know, you got humbled and you were here for it. I appreciate
I mean,
you.
I said it as a joke anyway. It's funny stuff, man.
Hey, man, you said it. It was out there in the world. All right.
He remembered it. I don't even remember saying it, but now that he mentioned it, it joggled my memory. It sounds like something I would say.
It 100% sounds like something you would say. No one can deny that. It sounds like something you would say for sure.
Tune in next week when I tell Ray that he wants Garrett Gilbert to be the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys next week.
Well, moving along for those that are still locked in, we're getting into some baseball talk right now. We're talking about Declan's Yankees, all right? And they're that fifth starter spot that's open there. We know where you have Garrett Cole locked in, Corey Kluber, Jameson Taillon, and Jordan Montgomery. Clearly, your top four right there. But who's that fifth starter? Now we have Davy Garcia and Domingo Germán, who they're both playing well in spring training. They both look good. Their stuff is looking electric. Which way can you go? Deck, I'll default to you as a Yankee fan, our Yankee fan. I'm going to say I'm going to own you here. You're our Yankee fan.
Yeah, the only Yankee fan on the panel and potentially the only objective Yankee fan within a 5-mile radius of where I live.
Ooh, stop it.
You can say that I have, whatever, like I love my Giants. Josh Allen's my boy. But you cannot.
Some would call you a homer, but yes, continue.
Yeah, I mean, someone also called Greg a homer, and I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay.
I mean, why deflect? We're not talking about me.
All right, well, at least, but you know what? You're 30-something years old, and I'm 18, and I'm a homer at times.
The age has nothing to do with this.
Ages.
Has nothing to do with this.
Come on, don't cancel me. Jesus.
I mean, you might get canceled. I mean, we don't have a bunch of 18-year-olds watching us, so you're not playing to your audience. I'm just saying.
How do you know who I share this out to?
Oh, I'm just saying who's watching us and who tends to watch us.
I bring all my friends to the platform, Steph.
All right. All right, you got it, bro. All right,
Errol wants us to run up to guys in the street and tell them, punch them in the face and tell them to download the app. So I got to share it somehow. Anyway.
Well, hit me with your point, man.
Yeah, please. I guess please to myself. So going back to Davy Garcia and Domingo Germán as the number 5 starter, competition for the New York Yankees down in spring training. Germán's looked great so far. Despite all the controversy that surrounds him with the domestic violence stuff, another touchy subject this afternoon.
It's a messy world we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. No other way to say it. And, shout out to Zach Britton and Luke Voigt for coming out there and saying what needed to be said.
Taking a stand. Yeah, that was definitely unprecedented to me, seeing guys hold their teammates accountable. But continue.
It's almost like what we should have seen, and not to get off track, but I guess we are a little. It's what we should have seen in the NFL 6-7 years ago when all the domestic violence stuff really started to come to the forefront.
Yeah.
Tough position, obviously, but kudos to them. As far as the competition goes, we had a great conversation last night about it. I'm all for giving the 5th spot to Davy Garcia. Not even just for off the field stuff, but for on the field and organizational stuff. This is a guy who's the future of your franchise in terms of the pitching rotation. He's a prospect. He's got that nice changeup. He's, Pedro Martinez in the dryer. Like, he is a hell of a guy you want in the clubhouse. Just to eat up some innings, but also keep him on the limit because he's a rookie. He's got a little bit of experience under his belt. Not a guy you want to put in the bullpen because you want to groom him as your starter. Germán, we know, has already had experience in the pen at the major league and AAA level. So I'm all for putting Germán as the bullpen and spot starter. Because, guys, let's not forget, last year we saw a 60-game season. We're not going to see guys eat up all these innings this year like they used to, kind of getting back into the swing of things, full-time baseball, 162 games. And injuries, given our New York sports baseball teams, injuries seem to happen, like the average folk changes their underwear. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Greg, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? As a Met fan, objectively speaking, how do you feel about the 5th spot for the Yankees?
He doesn't care.
And this is the discrepancy we have because I'm a baseball fan.
Me too. I'm a baseball fan.
So it's not that I don't care because I want to see good baseball. And I felt a way about it last night, but after hearing Declan's reasoning, he's a prospect, he's the future, I disagree. It should be Germán because Germán hasn't given up an earned run in spring training.
Yeah.
Usually when guys don't give up an earned run, that means they earned their spot.
Yeah, but it ain't like Davies getting bombed. He's
no, he's not. He's not. No,
yeah.
He's not. But
Germán also has his K per 9. He's K'd a few more batters than
the Dom is there. He's definitely come back.
In terms of sheer dominance, that doesn't mean Davey isn't dominant, but Germán has been a tad bit more dominant. I think he has like 1 walk to 13 Ks in 9 innings, and only 5 hits. Like the Yankees' biggest problem was the middle to the back end of their rotation. And this is not to say that Davey won't get a shot because guys get hurt during the year. We know this thing happens.
He's young.
He gets that. Yeah, he's young. He gets the opportunity. You take hold of that opportunity. But right now, he's being outpitched.
I mean, not by much. Not by much, though.
No,
not
by much, but he is.
What I will say to that, and this is just my 2 cents, with that domestic violence situation with Germán, as I'm not obviously a Yankee front office guy, but yes, he was suspended. To me, if you don't agree with the behavior, you can add on to that punishment by saying, yes, you pitched well, but you need to, it's not your time right now. You put Garcia in there and you have him be the starter and you bring Germán out of the bullpen. That's how you make a point to me. It's knowing that he had such a good camp, but saying, yeah, you served your time, you served your suspension, but we, like, as an organization, this is what we're doing. The MLB did this is what we're doing, and you need to just wait for your time. So I can side with Garcia being the starter, the 5th starter. But to your point, Greg, like, yes, Germán has the experience, and he's edged him slightly in the spring training, so far. I just think that when it comes down to it, especially with the guys in the clubhouse, how they feel, how they've spoken outwardly. So if they could say that in public, I'm sure, a little bit more candid in the clubhouse.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that there's something else. But yeah, I think that there's something to be said about that situation and also having that weigh in on the decision for who the 5th spot is.
Let's also keep in mind that Davey pitched in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like wet behind the ears as much as some other younger pitchers are. So there is something to be said there, Deck.
Yeah, and quickly, not to say like that what Greg said isn't completely accurate. He's pitched excellent, Germán, that is, and Garcia, but Germán, a little more so far. This is a guy who, I don't want to say quit on his team, but got himself in a position where he had to be away from the team during their run in 2019, where they went to the I almost just said AFC Championship game, ALCS against the Astros. Whereas Davey, Manny alluded to it in the comments. Aaron Boone, they took him out. It looked like an ownership move. I think it was Game 4 of the ALDS against the Rays. I mean, I'm all for Davey Garcia as the 5 star. He's got the stuff to play at the major league level. Let's start up the clock now.
Yeah, I can get behind that. But everyone, we got to take another break. Please stay locked in. We're going to hop into some basketball, a hot topic here. Myers Leonard being traded. So that's going to be up next. What is right, Declan? So stay locked in. This is Smoke and Mirrors. We'll be back shortly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back, everyone, as Declan Millie rocks us back into our last segment of the day, or rather last two, I should say. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, presented to you by the Sports Hit List. I'm your host, Stephen Polis, alongside my fellow hosts, Declan Krogman and Greg Polis. And as I said before we went into break, we're going to talk about Meyers Leonard. And as you remember, he had that controversy around his anti-Semitic comments made while streaming. Well, that same player has been traded to OKC, which unprecedented. I think we all can say is unprecedented for someone that has a controversy to not be released, but to be traded. And in this case, in that trade, Miami is also sending a 2027 second-round pick to OKC, and OKC is sending over Trevor Ariza, who has not played this season. And I believe he has a PNP. He opted out last season at the end, if I'm not mistaken, because of COVID. But Trevor Ariza is now on the Heat, and Meyers Leonard is with OKC. And from what I understand with that trade, Meyers Leonard is not going to report. He is hurt. There's a chance that OKC might use him for leverage, but he is not going to be reporting to OKC. So we've been alternating all day. Greg, I'll let you start off with this one. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? You're muted.
What a shock!
There's at least one every episode.
Yeah,
I've cleaned it up on my end. I'm just saying.
You gotta get a post-it note and just put it on.
I know, right? Just put it on my laptop.
Right. Unmute, bro.
I was trying not to practice and not talking during breaks.
It's good.
But yeah,
what you got?
It just is baffling. It doesn't make sense. You know, I know he's a gamer and he makes money from streaming. I haven't heard anything about, him losing, sponsorships there.
I believe he did.
He did?
I believe he lost the sponsorships from the streaming platform.
Okay, that's good. But it's just weird. Like, they could literally just release him. I don't understand how he can make these comments. I don't care what he said about he didn't know. He knew.
Agreed.
He knew exactly.
He knew what that word meant.
He knew it was derogatory. He knew it was an insult. That's all he needed.
Even if you don't know the origins, it's wrong when you're saying.
Yeah, he's too old not to.
To me, him getting traded to OKC is like a cop out for him. So that's where I'm at. I don't particularly like it. And OKC. Well, go ahead, Deck.
Oh, yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Well, a couple of things. I think this is a heavy issue to unpack. And again, just another serious topic on what should be a casual Friday, but unfortunately the sports world has screwed us over. Yeah, show your shirt. Yeah, great. There you go. Great timing. But in all seriousness, though, like a white guy makes an anti-Semitic comment and he gets traded. And where he gets traded, listen, I'm not going to spell it out for anybody. I feel like Oklahoma, Greg, you can get into it more because you're a history educator and you know your stuff in that regard. Like in Miami, you make a comment like that, the whole town is probably going to ostracize you. All right, but you go to Oklahoma, whether he plays or not, it's even the Oklahoma City media is not going to bat two eyes, and that's just where I stand on that. And the fact that he got traded, I agree with Greg. I see it as a cop-out. You say something stupid and now you're on another team, like, whatever. Most guys get cut when they say stuff like that. Nick Cannon lost his job, but go ahead.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I'm on the same page with you guys when it comes to that. It's again, I said it's unprecedented because you do get cut. I mean, you look at, and I look at Meyers Leonard as a role player. He's someone that can contribute to a team, but he's not the superstar. He's not the guy that you're leaning on heavily. Whereas, we had situations with other athletes, and what comes to mind for me right away is Kareem Hunt, where he has a domestic violence issue. And what does KC do? They cut bait quick. As soon as it's reported that it happens, and he gets picked up later on by the Browns in the next season. But I think that's part of the course for teams. It's a safer bet to say that we're going to take a stand and say what they did is wrong, and how we approve or we disapprove of that is by releasing them. The trade to me is kind of like we want value back. Like you're getting something back for this player that you'd only trading because of this controversy. So it's unprecedented. It's definitely suspicious to me. I don't like the move personally. And also Leonard had to waive his no trade clause in order for this to happen. So it was like a good faith gesture by Leonard to the Heat. Because exactly, no trade clause.
Why does he have that?
Exactly. I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing, bro. I thought no trade clauses were like big deals for players that had weight, like that actually had clout. You know, like he has a no trade clause.
That doesn't even make sense.
It should throw all of us.
That's like the equivalent of giving like Gary Sanchez a no trade clause. That makes no sense to anybody.
Yes, I mean Gary Sanchez has a bigger name though than Myers Leonard.
Fine.
So I
think JD Davis.
Yeah,
give him no trade.
Yeah, I think though that if seeing him with a no trade clause, maybe it's the inklings of that becoming more standard for even the lower rungs of the sporting world, which I'm not against, to be honest with you, because if you're telling me that you now have the power to say yes or no to getting moved, like that, players should have that, especially when you believe that you want to stay here, you're starting to build a family, because at the drop of a hat before, any season where the trade deadline ends, you could be moved, you could be uprooted. Your kids, if you have family of kids, they're in the school system, you might be happy where you're at, you might enjoy your community, you might be investing in your community, and here you are now moving across the country because someone found value in you elsewhere. So I'm not against it. I was just surprised by it because it's not something we've seen before. But yes, he waived it. And again, it was a good faith gesture by Leonard to the Heat. Because I think otherwise he probably would not have gone to OKC.
They probably forced him out though. Let's just be honest. I know.
Yeah, for sure. No, what I'm saying is Leonard could have said no. And obviously that looks bad on him, but he has the option to say no because he has the no trade clause. He waived it. So that's all I'll say on that. I don't think you guys have anything else you want to say about it.
I just want to say it's just what a fall from grace for not even him, because whether he thought he was a decent player or not, was he a starter? He would just come off the bench like in critical.
He was a role player.
He was like a role player, right?
Yeah,
like he wasn't a bad player. And he was on this champion, the team that went to the finals. And I feel like there's still like a weird fall from grace for the Heat. Like the kind of, the glow has kind of, been dimmed on them recently.
I would say yes, but also getting back Trevor Ariza, who can be quite the guard the forward and a great shooter, especially from three. I think that Trevor Ariza could be something that ends up bringing the Heat around and being a contributing factor. He could be. You don't think so?
I think so. I think they already have Andre Iguodala. So that's the kind of player you're getting. And if you're going to go skill sets with guys who could shoot threes,
I'm just saying.
I guess role player.
Yeah, I guess is veteran role player in a second unit. Trevor Ariza isn't gonna. I don't think he hurts them. He can help them. We'll see what happens. He hasn't played in almost 2 years now. We're talking about so. So I think that you could still, I think he can contribute. You both could say not, but this is all recorded. So when he does come back and he does pop off, you'll hear my mouth. You'll hear my mouth.
It's like teaming up. It's like teaming up Matt Holiday and Brian McCann. That's just what it is to me right now.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Moving on to the last segment here. We still saying basketball. For those of you that like to watch TNT and are a big fan of Shaq had a statement that he wanted to bring. He has lots of statements, true.
More specific.
This specific statement, though, which rubbed Candace Parker, who's also on the telecast, the wrong way. He was suggesting that to improve the WNBA, the rim should be lowered to 9 feet and not the 10 that it's currently at. And Candace Parker took issue with that. Saying that it's the game is evolving and that she cited her daughter. She's like her next daughter will be someone that can potentially like dunk, or rather because the whole focus is like dunking.
Drop step
and dunk. Yeah. So I mean, but what I got from her comments is that the game is evolving. The players are evolving, and you're seeing that with time that will come. You don't need to put a handicap in order to make it more entertaining. And Greg, since you started last time, Deck, I'm going to give it to you. Let me hear what you think. What are your thoughts on this hot take from Shaq?
I'm not with it. I think, first of all, at the middle school basketball level, boys and girls, it's the same height hoop as it is in the NBA. At the high school level, it's the same. And yeah, like middle school, high school, college, it's all the same. So now we're asking, people in the WNBA, these players, to essentially rework their game on a lower rim. Like in some countries, they start with a lower rim. Now we're going to take veterans in the WNBA and make them shoot on a rim that's 1 or 2 feet lower, whatever Shaq alluded to. When it's a game of finesse, and you know what, the job here to get the interest back in the WNBA isn't on the players. It's on the marketing. It's like Rob Manfred is the commissioner of the WNBA. That's like the product.
A lot of basketball to baseball references in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah,
here.
You know why? Because I'm having fun, and maybe I missed baseball a little bit in the second segment. I'm gonna go after the show. I'm gonna go watch spring training. I'm gonna go to the Rays Blue Jays for no reason. In the 8th inning when they got all the AAA players in.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg, what are your thoughts? What do you think on this?
I actually think Shaq is 100% right. And
really?
I
Greg going with a media narrative?
What? I mean, technically, it's not the media narrative because he's getting killed for it.
I mean, but it is still because he is the media, and that was his narrative. So even though it's not popular, it's still a media narrative, and you're going with it.
He didn't say it on the court.
That's a smoke and mirrors first. We'll put it up there on the board.
And Cynthia Cooper, Hall of Famer that she is, came out and said, well, nobody asked people to move the rims in for Shaq for him to shoot free throws. And the truth of the matter is, while that works well as a quip on Twitter, it doesn't work well when we're talking about the game itself. People didn't pay money to go see Shaq shoot free throws. That's not what they paid to see him for. And Declan, you mentioned marketing, right? If what the NBA did when they removed the hand check and they removed zone defenses, that they increased scoring. Offensive scoring went up, three-point shot became more relevant. If you do that, if you lower the rim in 9 feet in the WNBA, not only do you get more scoring, you get those posterizations that even in the sports sales, the baptisms that people look for, you get that. You get that entertainment that's been lacking. The WNBA has been a league that's been around for almost 30 years, and they haven't improved the product per se to where they can increase the viewership. So something has to change, whether it could be twofold. It could be in the marketing and in the gameplay. And then, now you pull in more revenue so these WNBA players can get paid more.
I'm on deck. I'm with Deck on this one. I will be on deck when I play baseball. But I'm with Deck on this one.
Reference stuff. Don't yell at him, Greg.
But I'm with Deck on this one. And that Cynthia Cooper Dyke quote that you used, it was partial, right? You didn't use the rest of it because she makes mention to the former game and how Wilt Chamberlain and Dr. J and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they were the ones, they were the only ones that did what they did, in the league. They were the only ones that you saw that were making those, that were maybe dunking, had the ability to do it on a consistent level, that were the showstoppers. And even then, they didn't dunk as much, but the game did evolve. And her whole point was that it does evolve, and it will, in time, it will become that. And the reason I disagree with you mostly, and Shaq, since you and Shaq are buddies now, the reason I disagree with both
shoot
of
free
you.
throws poorly.
You've never even seen me play basketball.
My point, I'm gonna just finish up. Y'all handle your beef afterwards. But the reason I disagree with the both of you is because, to me, dunking, while it is entertaining, is a symptom, but not the root of the cause, right? Or the root of the problem. It's like if you take Marty, for example, here, if I just water his one leaf, right? Instead of if I just pay attention to one leaf instead of actually watering and caring for his roots, he would never grow. And the problem isn't that the WNBA needs more dunking. The problem is, as Dex said, it's marketing. And that to me is advertisers finding the WNBA to be worthwhile. And they haven't. The WNBA has been underserved for all of those 30 years that you mentioned that they've been around, because we live in a patriarchy, and the men are the leaders and women are, it's not as entertaining. You telling me that there are men that think that they could go toe to toe with a WNBA player in like a pickup game and beat them. Like, that's the sad part. That's the world we live in, where a person that plays pickup once every weekend thinks that they can go against a WNBA player because they're a man and beat them. These women are talented. They already have the talent to ball out and show us what exactly they can do, and that's entertaining. To be honest with you, the WNBA should be above ratings-wise baseball, because it is that upbeat, high-paced game that people love to see. And I just don't think that they get the eyeballs, even with the social justice stuff that was happening last year in 2020. And Black Lives Matter.
Big noise.
They were making noise, but they still weren't getting the publicity they deserved. And that's because they are underserved. I don't think that them dunking more is going to add to, their viewers or the eyeballs watching them. That is not going to help. Yes, if you were to improve the marketing aspect of it and advertisers spending on them and them being, publicized more, dunking would then help. But adding dunking now is just going to be, maybe it ends up being a reel or ends up on Instagram for like 10 seconds. But people aren't going to go watch more games because of that. They'll just consume it in that vein on Instagram, on Twitter, on whatever. They're not going to start watching basketball more or going to games. You still want, eventually, when we get to this point, butts in seats, and dunking isn't going to just do that alone.
You said that.
Hold on, Deck. One, I disagree that dunking won't get butts in seats, because offense sells in every sport. But two things can be true. They can lower the rim, and first, do you watch the NBA?
Barely.
I'm ashamed.
I've watched the WNBA. I've watched women's college basketball. Women's college basketball, for whatever reason, for the gameplay is more entertaining than the gameplay in the WNBA, and that's part of the reason that they struggle to market. Which is why I say, in this case, the WNBA would be better served in this sense, to where I agree with Shaq, to push the offense.
What's the difference between the college ball and WNBA? Do they have a lower rim in the
No. I think
all
the
marketing.
gameplay.
Oh, okay. I mean, because you're telling me they don't have a 9-foot rim, so
No.
all right.
What I'm saying is the gameplay is more watchable in college than it is in the WNBA. There's a disconnect from both leagues.
Then you can make that connect then without having to lower the rim. Is all I'm saying. But continue your point.
But what I'm saying is the WNBA has struggled to fix that, coupled with the marketing. So that's why I said two things can be true. You can enhance the offense and the marketability at the same time, and push a better product.
Deck, right before I'll let you go, Deck, and then I'll finish up. But what's your point, Deck?
Honestly, that's really what I got to say. For the most part, I think you said something about you disagree with both of us, but I think you're just saying that you agreed, and Greg maybe got a little heated that you forgot.
No,
but
not at all.
Even with with Marty, first of all, that's another thing I wanted to address earlier. You said something about if you water
only one leaf.
Yeah, and you know what? If you did that, maybe we wouldn't have to go 10 minutes over, and we'd save about 10 minutes talking about the plant.
That was only like 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, all right, what? 10 seconds? You know what? I rest my case. Honestly, that's all I have to say about the WNBA. I'm with you, and I think what Greg alluded to with the NCAA and women's basketball. UConn goes out and dominates every year, and people still watch. The ratings are still there. The marketing's there. The NCAA, as corrupt as it may be, or as corrupt as it is, they market March Madness for women's better than the WNBA markets the finals, or any game for that matter, in their respective league.
I agree with that. I guess my last point will be just that I think it might have the adverse effect that you haven't talked about, Greg, and Shaq definitely didn't talk about, that they'll be taken more as a joke by lowering the rim. Like if you're talking about trying to be on par and like being on like the level with men's sports, by bringing it down to 9 feet, there'd be more jokes. People love to make jokes about the WNBA. Now you lower the rim, and it's like, oh yeah, now we have all these dunks to make it easy for them because they're women. That narrative,
the misogynists would have a field day.
Exactly.
I don't know if I agree with that point.
Let me finish. And that to me is why you have Candace Parker and Cynthia Cooper-Dyke that are against it, because they understand that is their craft. You're not a WNBA player. So imagine if you are having to have this almost similar regulations to the NBA, but then all of a sudden they lower the rim a foot to say, well, we believe that you'll do better now. Like, that is a slap in the face. And as an athlete, you don't want that. Especially when, in the case of the Hall of Fame Cynthia Cooper-Dyke, she played her whole career at 10 feet. Candace Parker, same thing, played her whole career at 10 feet. Like, why would you want to then bring it down to 9 feet and say, okay, now the ratings are there? It kind of seems like a joke. It gets taken less seriously. So I do see an adverse effect in lowering it to 9 feet and saying, okay, there's more dunks now. You ladies are good. And like Declan said, the misogynists would love that.
I don't think that's necessarily accurate in terms of everything. There's always a reaction to everything that you do. Mm-hmm. Almost everything has an adverse effect. So that's but to say what you said in that it's a slap in the face, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because my point is not just about the gameplay itself. It's coupled with the marketing. They struggle with ratings because of marketability, right?
And the lack of advertisers. Yes.
But that's coupled with the style of and pace of play.
But we've also said that college basketball does a lot better with the same regulation. So it to me, it's not a problem of the rim being too low. It's about marketing and choosing to commit to these women that are clearly talented.
It's not so much a problem as it is how in baseball they're trying new things to get to grow viewership. That's what this would be. This is not like, hey, we want to say you can't handle this. That's not what it is. It's hey, let's try this and see how it can market.
Yeah, but because the thing with baseball is like they're baseball's trying out new rules like extra innings rule. The guy on second base.
Why are they doing it? Why are they doing it? Why are they doing it?
For recognition, but you know what? At the same
time,
it's
not for recognition.
For viewership,
exactly.
Same thing. That's what I meant. Recognition, viewership, fine. But they're not bringing the fences in 10 feet in every stadium to cater to the home run.
They've done that though.
And
the Mets done it several times since Citi Field was
built. That's only because they made the field too big. They made the field too big. That's what the issue was.
That's because they made it Colorado dimensions in New York when they didn't even have a humidor at that point. Shout out to my father with the humidor, by the way. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Like, if you're gonna move the hoop down 2 feet,
1 foot.
It's 10 foot. Okay, so 10 to 9. Yeah. If you're gonna bring it down a foot, that's not comparable to little anecdotes in the MLB, little rules that are gonna change, some viewership. In the course of an extra innings game, you're changing the whole base.
It absolutely is comparable.
I'm sorry.
It's like moving the mound in.
Oh no! What I was going to say is similar. Would you move the bases 10 feet to make it 80? Like, that's what it is. You're subtracting.
They did that in softball. Softball, the bases are shorter.
They're not using a different ball.
The WNBA uses a different ball.
I'm sorry. So they do use different ball. But okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that what they did in softball is right. You're using the same analogy of a woman's sport that they're subtracting from to try and make it more entertaining because it's men that are making the decisions. I disagree with you because no one in their right mind would say the bases need to be 80 feet to make it easier for guys because there's not enough speedy guys. Guys are stealing less bases, Greg, right? So what if you make it 80 feet? There'll be more stolen bases. That's more entertaining. Look at Javier Baez. He's killing it right now, getting guys out. But how much better would it be if it's making it snap throws 80 feet? That's Absolutely. Not happening because it would be ridiculous to think for a men's sport that they would reduce the distance, right, 10 feet or whatever it might be, because it's easier for them and it'll be more entertaining. That would not fly. Even for the people that are like us that aren't necessarily purists that want it to change, additions are good. Subtractions are not always good. So I believe that a subtraction is not the right move.
Not on the player.
But here's the thing, though. All of what you said has already happened in the
80
MLB.
feet in MLB?
No. What I'm saying is the mound was lowered because there wasn't enough offense. And also like for instance, like the Polo Grounds where it was ridiculous that in the gaps and in center field, baseball stadiums all over the country started moving their fences in for what? For more offense, to sell more tickets because offense sells.
Yo, so to me, moving in fields, that's not a regulation. Every field has a different demographic. Every field has a different dimension. It's not the same.
The overarching point is still the same. The overarching point is that they made changes. They made changes to improve the play, so it's more watchable.
I agree with that.
What has the MLB done that would be anywhere near as significant as lowering the rim?
What did I literally just
moving
told
the
you what
fences
they did.
in one stadium.
They lowered the mound because guys couldn't hit.
True.
That's hold on.
Not even compare.
That doesn't compare. I don't think it compares only because lowering the mound, the higher mound was an advantage for pitchers, right? But I get what I'm saying is, I guess what I'm saying to your point is that when it comes to these women that are all of them on an equal playing field, because it's not equal when you have defense that has a pitcher's mound that's higher and an offense that the batter is dealing with, increased velocity, better breaking pitches because of that increased height, allowing them to have more break on the pitches, more velocity. That to me is different as opposed to the rims on both sides of the court being the same exact height. Well, welcome, Kaylee. Welcome to the end. It's getting heated. And KJ, look at that. My niece and my nephew hanging out. But just to wrap up, because we did go over quite a bit, all I want to say is to that, I do not think it compares because you're talking about the height of the mound, which gave obviously an advantage to pitchers as opposed to hitters, whereas the height of the rim is the same for both sides of the court. Both teams have to deal with a 10-foot rim. So to lower it, right, for the sake of, playing to increase viewership, to me, again, it's still a slap in the face. I don't think that your point proves that it isn't that. I think there's other ways to improve viewership than lowering the rim and getting some more dunks because that's short-sighted in my mind. Again, it's those are clips that will live on Instagram and Twitter and will not bring necessarily more people. Yes, you might have some more people in the seats because of that, but that's not the problem.
Let me ask you a question. The Toronto Raptors, before Vince Carter was there, they struggled with attendance. When he got there, why were fans in the seat?
Because Vince Carter is an amazing athlete,
and he
made plays. But he dunked really well. But he was more than that. He was half amazing.
Absolutely, but why? Because offense sells tickets. That's why.
But to me,
offense sells tickets.
There's other ways to improve offense. You're making it seem like there's only one way.
No, I know.
That's only dunks. That's only 2 points, bro. That's only 2 points.
It's not about. It's not just about the points. It's how it looks. It's the aesthetics of it, right? It's the aesthetics of it. People are like, yo, did you just see I don't know, Skylar Diggins go and dunk on Sue Bird and she posterized her, and now you have the market. Now you could have the posters, just like when Giannis dunks on somebody, and next thing you know, they're selling posters on Bucks websites of Giannis postering somebody. Who wants to buy a poster of a layup? Nobody.
Yeah, but hold on. Can I just propose?
Does Steph Curry have posters? He doesn't dunk. I'm just saying, but whatever.
Hold on. Let me just pose a question for a sec. If you're a WNBA player, and if you're somebody that likes a Sue Bird, Skylar Diggins, or even a mid-range, like I don't want to say mediocre, but an average player, right? I guess I just did. But an average WNBA player, this wouldn't be offensive to lower the rim a whole foot. Like to me, that's a knock as an athlete, and especially in the time of when we're preaching women equality, and gender equality. Mm-hmm. Why would this ever be okay? Why would this even be necessary? They're averaging 85, close to 90 points in a game in the WNBA.
I think we're conflating what I'm saying here and say that I'm not saying they should be equal. I'm talking about from a marketability standpoint, the WNBA has had issues. So let's try something here and see what we can get out of it.
And I think what Deck and I are saying is that there's other ways to do that other than lowering the rim and making them seem inferior to NBA players. And again, also at the same time, I think this is this like sexist notion that like they have to do whatever the men do, like they have to dunk more. That's what's going to sell. Like, I don't think it has to be that ultimately, there are other ways to go about it. And as an athlete,
but you just said they have to do what the men do, but you're advocating that they play like the men play. You're literally doing
No,
that.
we're
What
not.
I'm saying, no,
We're
I'm advocating for how they play,
advocating
how
for
they
dunks.
currently play, how they currently play. They play at 10 feet. Why are we going to lower it so that they could dunk more? Because that's what sells for men.
Greg,
That's exactly what I'm
That's
saying.
what
It's the
sells
paradigm.
off. But I didn't just say it sells for men. I said offense across all sports sells.
You're
which is
focusing
why
on dunks
league-
for basketball,
Yeah,
though. Is
dude,
what it
But
is.
what I said,
Your point is dunks.
I didn't only say dunks. I even spoke about the hand check being removed and the increase in 3-pointers. I also said that.
But that's
Yeah.
for what happened in the men's league. I'm talking about for women. Why
Right,
lowering
that's
it to
but
get more
that's
dunks?
the direct
You're saying
example
that-
we have
Yeah,
for
you're-
the WNBA. So
Fine.
that's what I'm going to use. It makes
But-
sense.
But
But
you're
what I'm saying
that-
is offense across all sports sells tickets, which is why leagues change rules to promote offense.
There's other ways to change rules and improve offense than lowering the rim and taking
So-
away the integrity of players.
You
Period.
guys keep saying this,
Absolutely.
but you haven't given me anything of substance of how they can change a game to improve the gameplay.
The only thing you have is what Shaq said. So, like, you didn't even come up with that point yourself. So, to expect us to come up
what
with a
did
point.
you- I
No.
literally just said
You
to
said lowering the rim.
lowering the rim. I also said about the 3-point increase in scoring, increase in
3-point? What was
gameplay,
that?
and I said increase in pace of play. I
Yeah, I
said
don't remember
these
that.
things. I said increase pace
I
of play.
think-
Yeah,
because
I
I
don't know.
said the
Maybe,
college
maybe
game
we're
is
on a different
faster.
show.
I think
I
what
said
happened
the
is
college game is
I
faster.
think what you said is the college game is faster, and they both perform at the 10-foot rim. And the college game, to me, does get marketed more, as Declan said. So there's things to take away from the college game without changing the height of the rim. That's all. And I think like we've had a great discussion. You know, we already went 22 minutes over. Everyone that's locked in right now, thank you so much for staying with us. But we're gonna end there. All right. So clearly, Declan and I are aligned, thinking about
Yeah.
you
I'll
know
be the heel
what's
for this
best for. Yeah, you will, and it's all right though. Everyone, thank you for tuning in for this Friday edition of Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Hit List. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside my fellow hosts, Declan Krogman and Greg Polius, on that island by himself. And this is presented to you on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Thank you, and we'll see you again on Monday, 1 o'clock. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Later, guys.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.